Okay, this is notes over 13 and 15, the third try. I have two interruptions. Hopefully I can finish this up. All right, start with the president. Now, the founding fathers did not want to give the president a lot of powers. Actually, that they did not give him a lot of powers, but over the years, President Lincoln, Roosevelt, and Teddy Roosevelt, and Wilson added, of course, with the other president, they added a lot of powers to the president. Now, the things in green are the things I have added to your notes, so you can write them in pencil if you want to. Now, the Constitution did not set a limit on how many terms, but after Roosevelt died his fourth term, they passed the 22nd Amendment that limited the terms to 2 terms for each president. They also set up a way to impeach the president. The House will indict the president as though you do the criminal case, and then the Senate will have a trial to see if the indictment is so bad that the president needs to be relieved from duty. Okay, the 25th Amendment solved 3 problems, and you can read it. It said if the president wanted to give his powers away, this is how you would do it. If the president could not give his powers away, then it gave permission for the vice president to become the acting president. It also said if there's a vacancy in the vice president, it told you how to fill the vacancy. Okay, the Constitution said very little about the president's powers. Commander-in-chief, appointment powers, giving recommendations to Congress. But like we said earlier, he had originally not a lot of powers. All right, as we go through here, now several ways that the president can control the bureaucracy. He can appoint top-level administrators, like, of course, like cabinet members. He can kind of tinker with their budget and so on. Now, president has the power to recommend what agencies get how much money in the budget. This was set up in the Budgeting and Accounting Act. Not that you have to know that law. The cabinets were not set up in the Constitution, but every president realized that they need some help, so they start adding to them. Now, there's a lot of groups who help the president. The 3 largest ones is the National Security Council, Council on Economics Advisors, and the Office of Management and Budget. All these help the president in making different decisions. Now, the president, as the chief legislature, he can recommend bills. Of course, he can also veto bills. It's one of his powers. He has the power to recommend legislation during his State of the Union speech. And if the president, now Congress can override the president's veto by 2/3 vote of each house. The way the president can keep that from happening if his party controls both houses by 2/3. All right, and also the pocket veto. The president can veto bills or kill bills if Congress is not in session and if it's within 10 days of the time the bill was sent to him. All right, presidential coattails. A popular president can help other members of his party come into office. And we have the electoral mandate. President Obama ran for president on the platform that he was going to have universal health care. So when he was elected, he thinks he has a mandate to do that. That, okay, I said I would do it, and now I'm going to do it. And Chief diplomat. Of course, he can recognize countries. He has the powers to make treaties, even between states. And those are some of his constitutional powers. He has picked up the power of an executive agreement, which has the power of a treaty. It's not a treaty, but has the power of a treaty, but does not have to be approved by the Senate. He also has executive orders that has the power of a law, but does not have to go through Congress. Executive privilege is he does not have to tell Congress anything involving national security. Okay, well, after the Vietnam War, Congress passed the War Powers Resolution. Of course, that President Nixon vetoed, but it was overridden. This supposedly limits the president's power to get us into another conflict like Vietnam. The president can move troops, but he's mandated to get permission from Congress, or maybe Congress could even withdraw the troops within 60 to 90 days. Now, the president believes this is an illegal legislative veto, meaning that the Congress is taking some of his power. Now, we have not proved that yet because no one has taken to court. While we're on the veto, the Republicans gave Bill Clinton what is called a line item veto that allows you to veto one line of a 1,000-page bill. But the Supreme Court declared that unconstitutional, that the president was doing some of the job of the Congress. So this is kind of opposite of each other. And that they said that the line item veto violated the separation of powers set up in the Constitution. Okay, we'll skip some of down here. We'll get some of this in other chapters. As you can see, let's go on down to chapter 15. Now, the bureaucracy is what the people who are working for the government, mainly the executive branch. At first, it was the small system, which the president could just give anybody the job. But then we thought that was a really poor way to do it, so we passed the Pendleton Act that set up the civil service that had requirements. You had to pass a test and do other things before you get a job. You had to prove that you knew something about the job that you wanted. Also, I've added the Hatch Act here. It says that the federal employees cannot be coerced or cannot be involved in campaigning during their time at work. Now we talk about the Office of Personnel Management. Helps the president make the budget. All right. Now the bureaucracy all comes up to the leader of all that is the cabinet members. And of course, as you remember, the president appoints the cabinet members, so he really has a lot of power over the bureaucracy just by he can appoint their boss. Now, independent agencies were set up by Congress to try to be independent. These are people that cannot be changed just because they change the president. They're responsible for regulating, the Congress will pass a bill and they're going to initiate the bill and regulate, making rules, set up to protect different things. Now, a lot of people do not like this because they believe these people can, be the judge and jury of laws. They can make a law, enforce a law, and punish the law. The power, they believe that they are violating the separation of powers because they're not elected, but they can do all these different things. Okay, we're going to slide through here. Now, after it's hard to regulate the bureaucracy after you get started because they're kind of have a lot of independence on it. And the president, we talked about this earlier, but the president's control over that, he can remove their bosses like cabinet members. He has a little bit of control over their budget. He can kind of tinker with their budget if he does not like what they're doing. And we've already talked about commander-in-chief. Let's go on down. Now, deregulation. Now, the conservatives would like to see a lot of these laws taken off the books because they think it's hurting the economy, hurting small businesses, which is their strength. Okay, also they believe, like just what I got through saying, it goes against the separation of powers. They got too much power and they're not elected. Now, some other criticisms of the bureaucracy is that it doesn't work, it's too complex, and it hurts the free market system that we have. All right, at the very end of it, here are some of the things. The president's control over the bureaucracy would, he appoints people, he can issue executive orders, tinker with their budget, and he can reorganize the agency if he wants to. Congress, power over it, be about the same thing. They can approve the heads of these departments. They can also tinker with their budget. They can hold hearings, and they can rewrite legislation that created that office. Okay, and the iron triangle is when an agency, committee in Congress, and a group gets together. Probably we talked about an executive department like the Department of Navy of the Armed Forces. They want something. A committee in Congress agrees that they should get it. And then an interest group, like the people who are going to build it, they all get together and they form what is called the Iron Triangle. Okay, now, all right, 12 minutes, pretty good. Now remember, I gave you 16 questions. I looked at the test. I'm thinking 15 of those 16 are on the test. So we're not going to go over some things. We're not going to go over those, obviously, but it's good for you to look up those answers. Also study the essays. All right. Okay. Y'all have a good weekend, and may the force be with you on this test.